I had a mentor at a previous role who did something similar. And she said to me, she goes, Denielle, if I didn't do it, why should somebody else? If I don't care as the most senior woman, why should somebody else stand up and do it? And I said, absolutely. And I feel the same way. I'm the most senior woman of our 2,000 person Hearst Health organization. And I thought, if I don't care enough to bring women's voices up and women's voices to the table and have this community that welcomes all to educate and bring inspiring stories, then who should?
This is Inspiring Women, and today I'm speaking with Denielle DeWynter, and she is the CFO of Hearst Health, and she has been a CFO and in the world of finance for 20 years. We're here at the WBL Summit. Denielle, thank you for being on Inspiring Women.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is incredible.
I know, it's exciting, right? It's like, we're actually at the end of the day, so we might be a little bit punchy as we do this conversation, but we've got the energy for it. So Denielle, I wanted to start because, as a CFO, you've got, 20 years in the world of finance, also international. You are a global executive, and you've been in various Hearst businesses over the years. So just what is the through line? Where did you sort of start out? How did you get here?
Oh, wow. That's a big question.
Yeah.
So how did I get here? I'd say the through line is this natural curiosity and desire to just be this continuous learner. I grew up in a very small town in Canada, in British Columbia. I was a exchange student, a Rotary exchange student when I was 18, lived in Spain. And I think that kind of was a driver for me to have this international experience. I just had this desire and goal to see the world. So when I came out of college and, became a chartered accountant, I then moved over to Germany, and then my career moved me to the UK, and I lived in London for a few years.
Oh,
then my career has spanned 5 countries.
Oh, wow.
And I think if anything, it's just made me a better leader. Like when we talk about diversity and inclusion, like I've just seen more things, and I see the rewards, I see the challenges, the opportunities of just being around different people.
Was your peer group, when you were sort of, doing all these different positions around the globe, were they also all international? Because to me, it's like the world has become much smaller and much more connected. But to have that kind of experience is exceptional in seems any role today. But were you sort of like unique in that way, or were other people doing it too?
I would say so. I was unique when I was in Spain. I was a little bit unique when I was in Germany. Being in London, it's not as unique because Canada is part of the Commonwealth. So it is sort of a melting pot of all these countries that come from Commonwealth countries.
So now you've moved around to a number of different Hearst businesses, as the senior leader. So what are the things, so first of all, so you're in Hearst Health. And so what's unique about this position? And, is it the best position so far, or tell me about that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's the best position so far. So I'd say now I'm an American too, which is really cool for me. But I'd say most of my career has been in financial services. So a lot of the years were there. And then, I joined Hearst, and this role, the CFO of Hearst Health, kind of fell on me because I was part of this I was a CFO of a division that had multiple verticals. And so Hearst decided, because it was becoming such a larger piece and a larger contributor for Hearst, that they needed to separate it. So it kind of came to this point of, I either luckily have an offer and accept the offer to become the CFO of Hearst Health, or I'm out of a job. And if anything, it just turned out to be the best thing ever for me, because Hearst Health is very mission driven. So it's all about better quality, efficiency, more cost efficient healthcare, as well as greater accessibility, which to me is much more meaningful than being in the financial services. So,
Well, financial services is a critical role for any organization.
Yeah.
And, being mission driven is just interesting that you go there, because I actually wanted to ask you about some of the programs that you personally invest your own time, your leadership capability towards these programs. So the first one is, what is it? W-E at H-H.
it's we at Hearst Health.
Okay.
We.
Okay. So this is the first ERG, employee resource group for women. And so you started it. What is this?
I did. So I started it back like a couple months into COVID. So I think it's one of my COVID silver linings because I was feeling very isolated. I was at home in San Francisco with my 2 young kids that were in 3rd and 4th grade, and I just wasn't seeing anybody. And so just slowly, I started this monthly zoomcast, which fast forward now we're on our 42nd session, which it's a 1-hour zoomcast each month. And I just bring all these guests in to share leadership stories, inspiring guidance. And it's been really rewarding. I'd say if anything, it's been a great chance for me to give back to up and comers. It's not only for women now. It started that way. Now it's we means everybody. So it welcomes all. And so it's this toolkit that brings anyone from Hearst Health, anybody from even Hearst, together as a community to learn.
It's hard to imagine in an organization like Hearst. I mean, Hearst has been around for some
Very
time.
long,
that it was the pandemic when a group like this just started.
Yeah.
So when you started it, it must have seemed like such an immediate good idea. What happened?
Well, it started small. It's almost like what Carla Harris said. Like you start small and like incremental small changes that create benefit and value. And I'd say like the community was maybe 25 people. And now the monthly email goes out to over 400 people.
Wow.
And we get at least, we get around 100 participants. And for me, my goal is really just, I want those participants to learn something. And I've gotten the most incredible feedback around how they feel energized. They feel more productive. They feel this sense of belonging. And for me, that's extremely important because all of our businesses are distributed and decentralized across the United States. We're not all in one location. So I think that is a nice silver lining.
Well, not only a silver lining, but what I've seen in employee resource groups is it's not just that the group exists, but when a senior most executive takes their time and is passionate about bringing others together in an organization, that is such an enormous statement. And I'm sure this is not about you. No, it's about the folks. So
the story there is I had a mentor at a previous role who did something similar. And she said to me, she goes, Denielle, if I didn't do it, why should somebody else? If I don't care as the most senior woman, why should somebody else stand up and do it? And I said, absolutely. And I feel the same way. I'm the most senior woman of our 2,000 person Hearst Health organization. And I thought, if I don't care enough to bring women's voices up and women's voices to the table and have this community that welcomes all to educate and bring inspiring stories, then who should?
Yeah, well, and it's again, I'm very impressed by it because oftentimes it doesn't look like that, and oftentimes it's sort of like a check on the HR, list of things to do, and it might be a little bit of reluctant participation. You're leaning in all the way.
And the thing, and I don't know if you feel the same way. But I love that I don't pay anybody. Like there's been no money involved in the 42 sessions. Like. It's an amazing network where these people open up their Rolodexes. It's just all word of mouth. And, if someone says, hey, will you do it for me? Then they'll come and sit on the Zoomcast.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. But it's not the only program that you do. So you're also very involved in this Hearst Scout program, which is about helping new innovative businesses. So tell us about that.
So it's the Hearst Lab. I'm just so happy to be part of that journey. So that was started by Eve Burton, the chief legal officer and general counsel at Hearst. And her goal there is to bridge the funding gap for women founders. So she started,
which is an enormous gap where
huge.
2% of funding goes to female founders unless they wish to give away a good part of their company to a male founder. And for that privilege, they might get 27% of the funding that's out there. Yes.
So it's a real problem, a real challenge. And so Eve started it, and I've just been part of the ride. It's another area that just makes your job much more rewarding. And I think you also mentioned, Hearst is a very traditional company that's been around for so long. It's so amazing to be around these female founders that are just cut from a different cloth. They're very entrepreneurial, very scrappy, very gritty. And it's sort of like the bridging of those two worlds.
Yes.
Because they come in and they get help. And, I help out either by, introducing these female founders to some of our Hearst Health businesses, or, I sit down and work out a financial model for them. And, I've just developed some great relationships. And I personally feel inspired because I look at what they do. And I mean, I'm inspired by just the passion that they have.
That makes so much sense to me. I mean, when you're at that very senior level job, I mean, let's face it, it's a lot of work, and sometimes it can be a grind, you know, to be in those senior executive positions. So when you have people who are so passionate about the thing that they're doing, and you can provide wisdom, advice, or just a warm introduction, it's so very meaningful. So
and it's inspiring up and down. Like without a doubt, I am a lot of. They're not only in healthcare. Like I think now Hearst has invested in over 70.
Oh, wow.
It's like 70 startups. It's been around since I think 2016.
Wow.
And I think it's the largest investor in female startups, because very early stage startups.
Wow.
The checks are small, but it is really amazing.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I wanted to ask you about WBL. We're here at the WBL annual summit, and you're a CFO. And so as a senior executive with the financial angle and strategy for an organization, what do you get out of the professional network of WBL?
Oh my gosh, I get so much. I'm a big believer of you not needing to solve problems on your own. And that's what this is about. And I love the fact that it's specific to healthcare. So it almost encompasses that feeling of diversity, because it's all these different minds, people from all different functions coming in, and, we're trying to solve healthcare problems. So it's a wonderful experience.
Yep. And so, and other people, they're not finance, or are they finance problems as well as just other strategy and leadership issues?
I think everybody's looking for, growth opportunities, meeting with customers, or, potential other relationships, strategic partners.
Yeah. It's not just a social network, it's a place of business. Right?
It is.
Yeah. So Denielle, I want to close out on this Inspiring Women conversation. I always like to ask senior executives, in terms of what got you here into this leadership spot that you are in, if you think about sort of like the next women who are coming up and want to be you when they grow up in their leadership seats, what advice maybe worked for you along the way that might apply for them, or things that they won't have to do that maybe you had to do as you grew your career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, a lot of advice, but I would say I'd say stay curious. Just be naturally interested in learning. I mean, I'm a big fan of reading books, listening to podcasts, just getting different point of view, have an open mind, even to my kids, I'm like, have a growth mindset. It's so important. I would also say, mentors are really important, managing relationships, and even adding on to that is understanding how to manage up to your boss. I would say, when I was in mid of my career, I had 2 young kids, I was working so hard, and I just kind of wondered, why was I not being promoted? And there was an aha moment of realizing you don't necessarily have to be the hardest worker. you need to also like be able to advocate for yourself. You have to be able to tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like everybody's just looking out for your own career path.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do?
What did I do? I learned how to advocate for myself. I
Mhm.
understood my marketability. I also like I've learned how to manage up to like my current boss
Mhm.
and just, understand what he likes, like how he likes to be communicated to.
Mhm.
So those little like tweaks.
That is
kind of-
so important. And,
It's
I
so
think,
important.
others have said, if you don't ask, you don't get,
Exactly.
and if you're not paying attention to that. So, and how to receive that information so that people have time to actually listen to you.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's, we'll call that one of Carla's pearls.
Oh my
but that
gosh.
is one of Denielle's pearls.
Oh.
It's perfect.
I know I had to come up with my own pearl, but she was great. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. This has been an amazing, inspiring women conversation. I've been speaking with Denielle DeWynter, and Denielle, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.